Elevating Black Voices. I am your host, Gerran Reese. This is the first time that we annually get to do this in person. We've done it the last 3 years via Zoom, and we are so excited. And I'm very, very excited to have a wonderful guest with us today. But first, let me introduce myself. Again, I am Gerran Reese. I am a creative consultant and direction for Artists Creating Entertainment, who is ran by the lovely Masha Bearbon. And our first guest for Elevating Black Voices, we have Jamila Glass.
Hi.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm going to let you talk about yourself, but yes, let's start off by saying we'll just say your name, but let's say your name, your preferred pronoun, and your astrology sign.
My name is Jamila Glass. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a Gemini, although I don't really follow any of that stuff.
Amazing. Cool, awesome. I'm gonna use my little notes here today. We have some in-depth questions. These questions are so great for me because I feel like, one, we're getting deeper this year just about the artists and them going through, like their things. So, cool. My first question for you is, can you give me a background of who you are, where you come from, and who has shaped you in life and currently right now?
Well, I'm from Houston, Texas. I've been in LA since 2001, where I went to University of Southern California to get my film production degree with a minor in advertising. I grew up immersed in the arts, in the performing arts. I started dance kind of late. I was kind of in and out of dance. I also played sports. And then I ended up at a performing arts high school in Houston. And it has some famous alumni. You can look up High School for the Performing and Visual Arts, HSPVA. And then I went to USC.
Absolutely.
And I've been here for a long time. I don't claim LA. But I also kind of don't want to claim Texas for obvious reasons, but my family is still there. So, but yeah, no, LA is great. LA has been a great home for me. But I would say in terms of who has shaped me, I would say my family, absolutely. They've always been very supportive of just all of my creative exploits. And so I have a lot of influences, I think, because they encourage that. At one point I wanted to be an Olympian, a track Olympian, because I was a sprinter in middle school and high school, and I did all that. I was a relay runner. But then I also got into filmmaking when I was younger, and I had an editing business that I started after I graduated in LA. So I would say they've always been super supportive, but then I would say every person that I've come into contact with has either taught me how to be or how not to be. And so while I think some people might be confused by maybe my career trajectory, I've learned that everything that I've done and every experience that I've had has led me to right where I need to be, and it's all informed the work that I'm doing right now. The day after my graduation, I auditioned for the Los Angeles Contemporary Dance Company, which was a new company at the time, and I got into the company. And I've been with the company this is the 18th year.
Amazing, congratulations.
Thank you, and I became artistic director of the company in 2021.
Come on.
Pandemic blessing, and
yes.
I also work as a choreographer in the commercial space in film and television. And I'm also a film director. And I've worked with you on a film that we love. It's Black History Month. Stream it. It's called Mood Melanin.
Yeah, Mood Melanin. Check it out.
Black Panther inspired.
Yes.
And I feel very fortunate to have that support of my family and my found family along the way, because those are the things that we need when we can't reach inside ourselves for that extra boost.
Yeah, for sure. That's beautiful to hear. And I think the big part of Ace doing this for Elevating Black Voices is, again, knowing these stories, knowing the creatives that are in our community, and making sure that we are being inspired. I mean, I think for me, this being my third year, hearing that already, to me, already inspires me. Like, you know what I mean? And it's important for us as a company to make sure that we're highlighting these different creatives, because like we work with choreographers, dancers, makeup artists, fashion, everything. And I think part of our due diligence to inform people and to, again, build better communities that are, again, in support of the BIPOC community, and me being part of that is so important. There's been a huge rise in the climate of these certain topics, but again, we're not here always to talk about the struggles, but we're here to talk about and celebrate, you know, the things that we are doing, you know, the things that, despite those things, that we are shining bright. So to know that you have that support system and to know that journey is so important. So amazing, amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
Second question. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so my second question would be, what was your place of healing in the past 3 years? And that's question one. And the second part is, what has been the challenge?
So, as the world knows, there was a reckoning that happened in 2020, and we were going through something globally, and then there was something that has been happening for a long time that happened and got more attention than I think police brutality has gotten in a long time. And that was really hard to process. And I decided, well, I was tired. I was tired of the weight of it and and just knowing that that wouldn't be the last one. I was also bothered by the awakening to racism. And I decided that I was no longer going to hide who I was truly or how I felt. So my parents and my family have always been, we've always celebrated our history as Black people and had that awareness and been in spaces where we felt supported in that way. But I've also, in different educational spaces or work spaces, have been the only one or one of few. And so I am not the only person that has that experience. There's millions of Black people.
Which we talked about before, you and I.
Yeah, who've had that experience. But I realized that I had been wearing a mask for a long time in order to make others, mainly white people, feel comfortable with the space that I was taking up. And this was something that I had been doing for years, so it was natural. It was a habit because it became that, because that was my daily practice. And I didn't want to have to feel stuck in a box anymore, and I wanted to be able to breathe, which is heavy to hear because of what we're talking about. Definitely. But I wanted to be able to breathe and just and live despite all of the things that we can't control. I wanted to be able to be myself. And so that was the beginning of a journey, a new journey for me, because the mask, I've been wearing the mask much longer than I hadn't. And so beginning to strip down those layers, like who am I actually? And how do I exist in spaces now who might know me in a very particular way and may not be comfortable with this person who is unapologetic, which the unapologetic part has grown in its scope since as I've gone on this journey. And so that has had repercussions in mainly in my personal life, but as I've gone on that journey, now we're in 2023, and I've seen how much more natural I feel in all spaces, that I'm not having to turn something on or off when I walk into a room, I don't have to have these fake conversations, or I don't have to
watch your tone.
Watch my tone, dial anything back. One of the things I realized I was doing was I was diminishing myself to make people feel comfortable. And I felt like I was building up a case for myself that I was non-threatening. Because I was in an organization where I was in leadership. I had a bit of tenure in the organization. And so at the same time, while I was having these leadership roles and doing well in them, I also didn't want people to feel like I felt like I was better than them and all of this stuff. And I felt like I was building a case for myself that I'm okay, like I'm nice, like don't worry about me. And I found out later that case, like, it didn't really hold up because at the end of the day, they didn't care. Yeah. And so that was a huge epiphany for me, because this is something that we do as a mode of survival as Black people in many different ways, in different spaces. Everyone's different, but I didn't even know that I was doing that. I was fortunate enough to choreograph my first feature film, Bad Hair, on Hulu.
Which is amazing, by the way.
Thank you, with the director, Justin Simeon. And as a part of the wrap party, we got this airbrushed hat. Everyone got to get a custom hat. And mine has my name on it, and it says Bad Hair, and it says choreographer. At the time when I had this epiphany, this later epiphany, had only worn it a few times and was nervous about wearing it in spaces where it would seem like I was bragging. Wow. And I didn't even know that I knew that I was like, oh, I shouldn't wear that, but I hadn't really looked at the reason why until all this other stuff was coming up. And so a friend of mine had a similar situation where he was the first Black, because I'm the first Black artistic director of the company that the dance company.
In the history of it.
In the history of the company, and the first person of color. So a friend of mine was the first Black dance captain for the tour of Wicked, and had a jacket that said dance captain on it, and he had only worn it around his house. Same. Wow. So we had the same experience, had never met. This was years apart, and I was just like, wow, these things that we're doing to try and protect ourselves in spaces that and don't care. So the best thing that we can do is actually just be who we are.
Exactly.
And so
live in our power, live in our truth.
Live. And so that is, I'm so proud to say that that's where I am right now. But again, because the mask wearing was longer than this new journey, it's constantly telling myself that this journey is the journey I'm supposed to be on, and I don't have to revert back. Yes. And wonder if me existing in a space and walking in a space is me bragging or me
being a threat.
Yes. So that's the healing, and it feels so great to have boundaries now.
Professional boundaries, even personal boundaries.
Both. Yeah. So that is. It's hard to get there though, because we're all on our own journey, and you can read like a nice little quote online or something, but you have to have that reckoning, that personal reckoning. And so I'm just happy that I'm closer on the other side than before.
No, 100%, and I really relate to that. I definitely feel like, and I've dealt with that within more personal spaces, where I feel like, I looked at some spaces and I realized like who has been there for me during the last 3 years, who really showed up, like who really spoke up, and not in like a judgmental way, but just in a way just of basic friendship. Because I think, and I even had to learn the opposite. Like, I had other friends that were, had family in Ukraine and Russia doing everything that was going on, and I had to learn how to show up for them. But again, it's all about the want to, wanting
Absolutely.
to be there, wanting to understand, wanting to, treat everyone in that same loving bubble, not like separating it, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we're all human. So yeah, I really love that. I relate to that. Awesome. Cool. Question number 3 then. Yay, okay, cool. Awesome, that's beautifully said. Cool. Where do you see your impact on the world in present and future moment?
I'm a huge proponent of bridging the gap between the concert and the commercial dance worlds. I have existed in both worlds for many years, but there is this harmful divide that one is better than the other, one is more prestigious than the other, one is more frivolous than the other, and it's silly.
It's very silly, I guess.
Because one, both groups or all dancers are fighting to be seen no matter what level you're at, because there's people who are highly accomplished who are still being disrespected in spaces because of systems in place where dance is not seen as as a high value art form as other art forms are seen, and also there's people in both spaces that can do both.
Yeah.
There's a high amount of dancers who can do both.
Definitely.
And can switch, if they're only doing one right now, can switch to the other one with ease.
Definitely.
This is something that the members of the community perpetuate, but I think it also is perpetuated in colleges by the public because of certain programs that have been popular over the years, and so because I've been fortunate enough to exist in both at a high level, I'm hoping to bridge that gap and allow us to be a more unified community so that we can actually affect the world, and I think in the way that I think we all want to do. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is one of my biggest lessons of the past few years is that there's a lack of emotional intelligence with artists that I've come across, and their ability to communicate in an effective way and advocate for themselves. As you know, a lot of things came up during the pandemic about toxicity and abuse in various forms, and the ways that a lot of artists have dealt with or not dealt with those things has been harmful. And so if I can be a person that can help the artists that I interact with feel more empowered to be who they are, and also if there is an issue, then they can speak in an effective way.
In a healthy way.
In a healthy way.
In a respectful way.
In a respectful way. All of the above.
All the things.
to actually move everything forward, because at the end of the day, I think I can say that we do want the same things. We want to work. We want to do this thing that we love. We want to be paid for it. We want to work in healthy environments. But how can we do that? How can we speak on our behalf in a way that is effective?
Amazing.
Beyond that, I just hope that I'm able to put out awesomely creative things into the world that make people feel something.
And which you already have,
So I just want to continue doing that. Because a lot of times I think people want to make you choose, like, what is the thing? Like, what's the one thing you want to do? If you can do anything. And I'm like, I just want to be creative with a budget that can support my ideas, with people, a team that is ready to go.
Limitless.
So, and that could be in film, that could be in TV, that could be in music. I love that I am interested in all of those things and have moved in those worlds. And so, why do I need to choose? Why would I want to limit myself when there's so much opportunity in meeting different kinds of people? So, that's the kind of impact. And so we'll see. I'm curious about what the future holds.
Well, I mean, I've known you for a while now, and you've just always climbed in such a beautiful way, and we've always had open and honest, very like healing type of discussions. And I know, like, I don't get to see you all the time, but when I do, I see you, I feel you. But I think that's with all of us in general, in some shape and form. But I think for me, even if I don't get to speak to you all the time, I get to see you, like, you're someone that I know has been a part of me in that journey, and have have given me I've never had a director ask me to just do me for something, especially with an all black cast and things like that. So Melanin for me was the first time me feeling like collective power, and I haven't in a long time. So I thank you for that. I thank you for including me in that art because you impacted my life in a way. So I'm a little emotional.
Oh!
Yeah, no.
I love that film so much. So that means a lot. I didn't know that.
No, it did. I mean, to me, that was a big role, a big part of me looking at myself in kind of a different way. Because not that I don't, but sometimes you don't feel that welcome, or you don't feel that push, or you don't feel that, I recognize like your work and who you are. Sometimes it's just a person. You know what I mean? Sort of feel that. So I just thank you for that.
Oh man, you're really crying.
Yeah.
That just warms my heart. I'm gonna go home and watch it.
Yeah.
I'll probably do a post about it tomorrow.
No, you know what I mean? Because that was a big part of me, and I'm a very I'm a pretty introspective person when it comes to my emotions, how I feel about my art. I just kind of put things out there, and I kind of mellow out, or or if I really get to speak on something, or get to talk to a lot of people, because I am kind of introverted when it comes to my own emotional expression, especially with people of color, you know what I mean? Because I feel like when I get to be around them, I'm like, yes. Ooh, I'm like, okay, right. So nice. You know what I mean? So I'm always grateful, but to have that moment and to say that she was something that was on my things to say, because a lot of things I'm just trying to get better at that. Even within myself, just speaking and expressing what things mean to me, rather than putting my head to the ground and just working all the time. You know what I mean? But I guess the last question and the last thing maybe I want to end with is if you want to say something in the world right now that you feel is important to inspire people on their journey, that may not be where we are right now in this kind of moving forward and climb. What would you want to say to anyone out in the world that's a beautiful brown black person or BIPOC right now to help them stay motivated?
This is going to sound so trite, but the best thing you can do is to be yourself, I promise. And, I'm of an older age, so I've had the life experience to knock that into me. But if I knew that when I was younger, how much different life would have been and how I could have moved through spaces with more ease. Yeah. Now, all of those things that happened to me, like I said, make me the person that I am now. But if you find that thing that keeps knocking at your door, maybe explore it. And you can also change your mind. It's okay to change your mind too.
Exactly that part.
And if you're interested in more than one thing, that's awesome. Yeah. You don't have to choose. That's one of the biggest things that I come across when I'm working with younger artists, is they're conflicted about having to choose something because that's what they're being told. And so when I was growing up and had an interest in advertising and in film, but then I was also a dancer, it's I don't understand. I don't get it. But something within me, and maybe that was also the support, I wasn't getting that kind of push back from my family.
That part.
I said, well, this is what I like, so I'm gonna
do it. Yeah.
So I would encourage people, if you are interested in engineering but also in knitting, go off.
Knit and engineer.
You better do that.
Pound, engineer, knit.
So that, and the people, this is a big one. That just like relationships are seasonal when they end, friendships do too. And you have to give yourself the space to let those things go. I don't think we're taught that friendships can be seasonal, and that doesn't mean that what happened in the friendship didn't happen. Or but that you take that lesson, just like that relationship that you're no longer with, and then you can move forward. And if you're moving forward with that openness, especially that openness of knowing who you are, you'll still attract more people who are supposed to be in your life for a day, for a week, for years. 10 years.
Yep,
yeah.
Exactly.
So, and ask questions.
Ask questions. Amen to that.
I ask so many. I'm either asking questions on the internet, via Google, or I'm asking people questions. So, yeah. Beautiful. That was 6 things.
Well, thank you so much for being here. You're so appreciated. I just am so excited to see more of what you do and for the things that you speak and say and create. and just thank you here for being for ACE, thank you for being here for elevating Black voices. We're out of here for that. We have our next guest coming up soon, so here we go. Thank you guys. Hey y'all, Gerran Reese back here again with Elevating Black Voices. We are here with our second guest of today. He is a musician, he's a writer, he is all-encompassing in the art of sound. So let's start by introducing you today.
Absolutely. What's up, world? My name is Jay Boykin. I'm from Riverside, California. I'm here representing ACE Entertainment, and I'm just very happy and blessed and humbled to be here. Looking forward to this. Absolutely.
Yes, amazing. Okay, cool. So we're gonna do a little bit of introduction and getting to know more about you. What are your pronouns, and also what is your astrological sign?
My pronoun would be a him. Himothy. That's I. And I'm a Capricorn. December 27th. I'm born 2 days after Christmas. So I love the holiday season, man. I have a few holiday albums. I've been doing it now since I was about 7 years old, and I'm 35 now, so I just love what I do, man. I pour my heart and soul into it, and I love to have fun with it.
Awesome, cool. So I want to know more about you. So what is your background, and what do you do for art?
Absolutely. I gravitated towards music in the church at a young age, and even before the church, I was pots and pans, couldn't really sit still. And I just gravitated towards music, man, as a form of expression, and just developed as a little kid, and picked up every instrument I could. My first album, entitled My Name is Jay, was actually produced by a producer from the Zap Band, and it was Roger's nephew, yeah. His name was Rufus, and you guys can check that out on iTunes. Check my website out, jboykinsax.com. Also, I have a station on Pandora under Pink Sand. And man, I just love it, man. I love the vibrant colors. I love just letting peace and love flow through the music.
Amazing, amazing. So in the last 3 years, everything that's kind of happened in the world, especially as a Black man, what has been part of your healing?
You know what, man? Music, man. I can never put it down, and the pandemic was so dramatic because we all had to pivot in a sense, you know what I mean? And at the time, I just expressed myself through writing. So I would do a lot of writing, and I love to stay physically fit. I do a lot of running as well. Just ran a marathon.
Yeah, I heard that you run a lot of marathons.
Yeah. Absolutely.
How many marathons did you run today? I mean, not marathons today. How many miles did you run today?
I ran 2 marathons in my lifetime, but I ran 8 miles today, this morning.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, that's more than me.
Yes. Hey. Absolutely.
Okay, cool, awesome. And right now, as you were going into your art, where do you see you impacting yourself in the future, and where do you see your art impacting now?
Now I can see, me and my music growing in the youth realm. I do a lot of concerts at like career days, school concerts and festivals. However, this is the year I believe I'm breaking through to the international scene. So we'll be taking this past the U.S., and I'm very excited to just really express myself to the rest of the world, becoming international, going to different countries. Just a couple years back, we went to Australia. And I love, man, just the people there. It was just so humbling to be there, man. And I speak to the youth because I know it's not easy out there, man. And my biggest message is to just follow what you love and keep doing it.
Okay, amazing, awesome. And I definitely resonate with that. I mean, since I work obviously in choreography and direction, but a big part of what also I do, I teach on dance conventions. So seeing kids learn dance, seeing how I can influence them to follow their dreams. I mean, I feel like, again, the youth is our future. So that's really, really impactful. I'm really happy to hear that you are aware of that. Because sometimes as artists, we don't really understand the impact that we really have. And again, that art to me is always going to be part of the world. Art is always going to influence. Art is always going to like have those different things. And also, I think as an artist, you know, it also helps to shape our identities, which kind of goes into my next question. How have you been able to develop your own sense of racial identity as a Black man? You know, and what does that mean to you?
You know what? I like to really break down the barriers of color and race. You know, I grew up in on the best of both worlds. You know, I grew up in a suburb, skateboarding, and I was always had to think outside the box. You know, I always got it hard from people like, "What are you doing on that skateboard?" You know, because that was another passion I shared along with music was skateboarding, and I've been doing that just about as long as I've been doing music. But then again, on the other end of the spectrum. I moved to Texas for a few years, just complete culture shock, you know, and we didn't have it all together as a family, and you know, that's when I had to experience some of the struggle and poverty, but it just humbled me, man, and just taught me to not forget where I came from, and you know, I love breaking down the statistics, the barriers, man. I've went to school in the South as well, so you know, there was a lot of racism. That I had to overcome, but essentially I just try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I try to, you know, paint a new picture for people. I don't try to judge and snap judge, but you know, it's just important to me to be yourself. You know, that's really what has set my music apart lately. I've been developing my own sound. I've been not afraid to just embrace me. Embrace Jay, my sound. I do a lot of hip hop as well. I do some rapping, some singing, and I intertwine that with the sax, and I just love it. You guys check out my music. Very uplifting, I would say. You know, because as you know, we've had a lot of adversity we had to face and overcome. So, you know, my biggest thing is life is like a marathon, as Nipsey would say, and you just got to keep going.
No, that's so true. And other than music, what other realms of creativity have you used to express yourself?
Well, you know, I'm pretty much a thrill seeker. I've been, I love, yeah. I mean, you know, I've been skydiving recently, and
okay.
yeah, I kind of have some plans there to try to get in the Guinness Book of World Records with the sax and jumping out of the plane. So, but you know, I do that. Skateboarding. I've done some handrails with the sax in my hand. So you guys check out my Instagram. Yeah, man, I gotta be myself. I gotta be unique to it, and I just love it when I get an opportunity to share with others, man. Really, you know, my own individual perspective on things. You know, I also love the arts. I love fashion. I'm really into fashion. You know, designing my own clothes. I remember doing gigs and sneaking into clubs before I was 18 and cutting my own ties, cutting my own pocket squares, putting my own suits together. So I've just always been intrigued by the art form.
Yeah, and earlier we were talking about like cologne and scents.
Oh yeah, too. Absolutely,
yeah,
man.
You know, we love a good smell good.
Oh man, absolutely, absolutely. A good smell, and let me not forget to mention, I am a foodie. I have a really complex palate. I love food. I love to eat. I love to try new
And that's
things.
also part of expression.
Yeah,
because,
absolutely,
yes.
absolutely. Like when we were in Australia, you know, I was a little skeptical at first, but they had some kangaroo, and I was like, you know what, sign me up for it.
How was it? Was it good?
It was kind of like beef jerky a little bit. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but you know, I was vegan for about 4 years. And
Okay, so that was definitely a jump. From
it
veggie land to kangaroo land.
Yes, it's been a jump, but you know, essentially just being vegan, I think it's gave me a bigger appreciation for the different flavors that food has to offer, you know? Because if you can cook vegan, you won't miss the meat that much. I'm telling you, if you know how to throw down, you know how to throw down. Exactly. So it's a whole art form.
And that's very, very true. That's so true.
Absolutely. You make me hungry now.
We're going to eat after this.
Hey.
On the next break. Oh, I love it. Okay. Well, I guess my final question would be then, so if you would want to give other, you know, people of color an inspiration, what would you want to say to them, considering, you know, I think as we all are here, you know, like we're highlighting people in the creative realm and in the BIPOC community, but you're in a high place right now, and you're evolving and you're growing. What words of inspiration or advice did you want to give people
You
out
know
there?
what? I would suggest this read, and I'm not the hugest reader, but there was this book I read called The Alchemist, you know, and I believe that you can apply it to life in so many different ways, just taking what life throws at you and gives you. When life gives you lemons, you got to make lemonade with it sometimes. So, you know, I'm a big firm believer of that, and taking things, taking straw and turning it into gold. You know, sometimes the journey won't always be easy, but if you keep your eyes on the prize, you can manifest whatever it is you want in life, whatever it is your goals are, and you know you can win. So that's all I have to say is check that read out, and you guys could be whatever it is you set your mind to be.
Well said and beautifully said. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
We
having
really
me.
appreciate you so much. No, for sure. Like you're the best. Like I mean, every time I see you, it's always like great energy. But thank you guys again. Give a man a round of applause. A silent one at home. Yeah, and then we'll take a little break and we'll get to our third guest. Back here with our third guest for Elevating Black Voices. You know it is. I'm so excited to have this guest. She's awesome. She's worked for ACE, and she is an incredible talent. She is best known for her skating skills, and I'll let her talk more about that. But introducing our third guest, name, pronoun, and astrological sign.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Moore. My pronouns are she, they, and I am a Taurus sun, a Virgo moon, and a Scorpio rising. I know 3. That's how you know I went too deep.
No, actually, I'm Aries, rising Gemini, moon in Cancer. So, bam.
See, I only know my 3, but like I can only tell you more about my 3. Like I can't like read you. Or all that
I
stuff.
feel you. No, but at least you know your 3.
Yeah, no, I feel like. Well, I mean, I feel like horoscopes. It's people interpret them. It's subjective, and you have to interpret them to your life context. Like you can't just read a generic thing and then or read or watch a generic thing and then just assume it applies to your situation. Like I feel like it's very context specific and very. You have to have your own self-diligence with it, because you can definitely go off the wire with it.
Wire into another stratosphere.
Right.
Galaxy,
Right. Yeah. No, I definitely am like not one of those people that's just like. I'm a this, so I'm just like this. I'm not gonna change this. Like,
no.
That's not me. But I do like, just as a person who likes to read, it's just very interesting to kind of read to see how we interact with the universe as a whole.
Definitely, and you know we got to elevate always. And, you know, and that's what we're here. We're elevating Black voices. So amazing. So let's talk about more of what you do and where you're from. So do you want to discuss like where you're from and what would be the correct term for the art form that you do?
Gotcha. So I was born and raised in Southern California. A native. Like my parents got divorced at a really early age, so like I moved up and down California. So I've lived like in Norwalk, I've lived in Long Beach, so I've kind of experienced like the diverse landscape of California, which I feel like is really awesome, and leaning into what I do on my page as a professional roller skater, because I really get to showcase all the terrain of California. And then obviously I kind of coined the term for myself, the world is my rink protector. So being able to just expand that to a global sense, like seeing myself skate in Miami and seeing myself skate in Spain, and just like showing that it's possible for faces like mine and faces like yours to be seen and enjoy our time around the world, you know? And I feel like in just capitalizing on the statement of radicalizing joy and what it means to show up with joy in a radical way, I feel like skating is really exemplary to that for me.
I love that. That's so funny. So one of my friends, Jordan, he was the creator of a break skate that was on America's Best Dance Crew. And what's funny story, so my dad also professionally roller skated when I was younger in Portland, Oregon. So skating has always been in some shape and part of my life. And it's so crazy now being older and being a dancer and a creative and a director in that sense, how like it's still around me to this day. It's never gone out of style. It's always been such a powerful, radical statement too. And it's like highly, highly skilled. Like, I mean, like what you do is so amazing. It's beautiful. It's so awesome, especially to see a woman of color and also your background, because you're also in school, correct?
Yeah, so I'm outside of roller skating. I'm currently getting my master's in urban and regional planning after just getting my bachelor's in sociology and human development. So I've always been a very community-minded and just society-minded person. Yeah. So I think it's been really cool in digging further into the roller skating community to just see how, you know, intrinsically it runs through us generationally. Like you said, you have people through your family that have roller skated, and you just are seeing that resurgence come through now. But again, like you said, it's never really left. It's always, I think it's been an undercurrent, and it's coming back up as a main current, but it's definitely always been there. And in terms of just something that puts forth a positive legacy of Black Americans, I love that roller skating has always been a very central and integral part of that, because I'm also, outside of being a grad student, I'm really passionate about music and just movement in general. So being able to just couple all those things together, it's like, seriously, every day I wake up and it's like a dream come true.
Yeah, and that is the dream. You know what I mean, in general. Oh, I love to hear that. So I guess another question I think I probably want to ask you is, how do you feel in the last 3 years you have been able to personally heal as a person, as a creative?
Man, I was like, that's deep. I mean, I guess taking it back to 2020, like, I think for all of us, it was a very unprecedented time, regardless of your race, religion, or background. For myself specifically, like, I finally took the steps to go back to therapy in a more concerted way, which I think is also just a very tough conversation in the Black and brown communities about mental health. So having to really step into having those conversations with my parents and having those conversations with myself, because again, like, it takes a lot of work to heal.
Yes. And the work never really stops.
And the work, and it never stops. Healing is a process, and I don't think any of us can ever really confidently say we're healed and that we're done, because it keeps going. So I think in the past 3 years, just really moving in a way that's intentional has been really positive for me. Okay. And then being able to complement that with roller skating. I tell people, I'm like, roller skating is therapeutic. It's not therapy.
Yes. There we go. There's a big difference.
There is a big difference.
Yes.
There's a big difference. So again, being able to see the benefit of having a strong sense of community that I, saw again within the Black community, but also just being able to have a stronger sense of self-identity and just seeing other people that look like me just doing the damn thing. Like, and that's as much as I know that's very frequent for me to see. It's like it's hidden from the rest of the world. And so, like, I just hope that me being me and showing up and taking up space helps other people to take up space too. Like, that's always the most important thing to me.
Yes, I love that. And so through that, and you kind of knowing that for yourself, what has been a big part of helping you to racially identify yourself in this current time?
I mean, it's tough. I think it's very easy to say that labels don't matter. And again, the sentiment of like, I don't see color and all that. But I think in a certain sense, it is really important to recognize our diversity and how our diversity brings forth not only positive things for our own inner being, but also for others. And so that's why I'm so passionate about showing up as my fullest and most authentic self that I can bring to every moment. Because again, like, that helps other people to feel safe to do that too. And so I think, growing up as like a queer Black femme woman in America, specifically California, like, and growing up in the suburbs, like, it was isolating. And so, and a lot of times, like, music was that guiding light. Music has always been what has kept me connected to the community, kept me connected to my roots, kept me connected to not only who I want to be in this present moment, but who I want to be in the future. So it's, like I said, like it's very cool to create that connection between music and movement and fashion and just bringing the most of myself that I possibly can to that moment. Like that's everything to me.
I love that. Okay, cool. So I think another thing is, what do you feel that you bring in the present moment as an artist, and what do you want to bring into the future with your art?
I mean, so I think in the present moment, I am definitely I feel like I can safely say I'm at a pivot point in my life where I am looking back at all of the things that I've said, the people that I've inspired, which I think that in of itself is a blessing to be able to receive your flowers while you're still here. Yes. So just speaking to people who have been impacted by what I have brought forth in the present moment, and again, taking a step back to recognize that for myself internally, because I think it can be very easy to just breeze past our achievements in just like the flight of time.
The fast food mentality is the way things are right now, too.
Right, and exactly, and I feel like especially living in Los Angeles, like everything just feels everything feels like it's moving. Everyone feels like they're getting FOMO. Everyone feels like they're missing out on something. Yeah. And so like, to me, I feel like in being intentional with the time I have in this current moment, like that is the best thing for my future self. So being able to be in the present moment and like acknowledge and like savor that, even if they're rough, because like, let's be real, for Black Americans, it's always been very rough, but I think 2020 definitely changed the temperature in a very dramatic way. So to be able to still acknowledge that the present moment is difficult, but the future doesn't have to be, is something like I've really like cemented within myself, and it's been keeping me really guided right now.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow, you're so awesome. I just love your energy and your spirit, and you're so all-encompassing. And I think, again, a part of elevating Black voices, and reaching the BIPOC community and also the non-BIPOC community, it is to understand that like we are all so different.
Right.
Like, as you know, in the community, like the narrative is not the same. Yes, there is a common thread of our skin tone and where we're from in different cultures, which is still actually not the same. We're all diverse in that way, but I think a part of this, segment for ACE and what we do is it's important to inspire others in the community to know that we are all connected, and also we can relate, even though all our stories
we don't have
are
to be a
different.
monolith.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
We don't have to be.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people that are following their dreams to know that there are people that are doing it.
Right, and doing it well.
And doing it well, and living and thriving and happy. And yes, we all have our specific battles and the things that we have to do to break past, the generational trauma that has happened in the U.S., but there are people that are part of the change. There are people that are actively living in that change. And even though the change is not 100% complete, which again, as we said, the work will never stop. Right. Because again, like that is, part of the journey, like of this system.
And that's just a part of humanity.
Humanity in general.
Like humans we are like the most resilient. We are the most resilient, regardless of your race, or creed. Like, we are built to withstand the trials and tribulations. So I think in my own personal battles with mental health and knowing and being in those very dark moments where it feels like the door is never going to open or no one's ever going to come, like there is going to be that moment, that light in the darkness. There's going to be a breakthrough. And I think in just being able to, radically imagine that future for yourself, whatever that looks for you individually or for the collective, like that is the most valuable thing that you can do for yourself as an individual, and you following wholly within yourself as an individual, like that's the best thing for the collective. You slipping in and blending in, like that doesn't do what we perceive it to.
Mm-hmm. Or actually what we know in our heart that we're supposed to do.
Right. So, and I think, again, like, it starts to create this sentiment of, like, guilt and shame. And I think when we are constantly wrestling with shame and guilt, it's very hard to see the future.
And also just for being ourselves. And that's already, like
that's yourself beyond the expression. Yeah, exactly. So, I think for myself and what's really emblematic of my page and what I love about the ethos of ACE is that showing up as yourself is why we want you to be here.
Yep.
And so leaning into that has been really special.
Amazing. And that's perfect. It actually leads into kind of like the last question for you. For people out there that are creatives, you know what I mean, that are black, white, and brown, that are black, white, and brown, or any shade, what do you want to say to the people out there to help inspire them to move creatively and to keep following their dreams?
I would just say, like, no one is you, and that is your power. I don't want to say share your struggles in the sense like, you know, college essays wanting you to pour out your family's trauma. No, I'm not talking about that, but lean into your intergenerational gifts. You know, not everything that has been shown to you that is, you know, your downfall, your crutch, your curse, like, turn that into that's your strength right there. Like that, look at that and think about why you are taking that interpretation of it, because it's just not a true reality. So at the end of the day, I think for anyone, regardless of their background, gender orientation, sexuality, it's like lean into your intergenerational gifts. You know, like there have been many lives lived before us, and there are going to be many lives that live after us. So you showing up as your most authentic self in this present moment is the very best thing that you can do for everyone, good, bad, and ugly.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Thank you so much for being here.
Can I hug you?
Of course
you
you can.
Is that cool?
Of course.
I'm like, I feel like I needed this conversation.
Of course. Definitely, that's what it's here for.
This is awesome.
No, I honor you and thank you for being vulnerable and sharing. It really means a lot. And I'm just so happy and excited to see you grow even more into your purpose, and and you already are doing that. So just thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for joining us for our third guest. And we take a little bit of a break, and we're going to get down to our fourth guest of today for Elevating Black Voices. See y'all soon. Hello everyone, Gerran Reese here. We are back for our guest number 4 for Elevating Black Voices. And I love this person. She is awesome. She's been with ACE since the very, very beginning. She is a multi-talented creative and artist and educator. She's originally from Chicago, Illinois, Chi-Town down. And I will let her tell you more about herself. But yes, let's introduce yourself. Who are you?
Hey y'all, my name is Dorian Aleccia. My pronouns are she, her, and my astrological sign is a Gemini Cancer because I'm on the cusp.
Amazing, awesome, cool. And so what would you call yourself in the creative world, your profession? And I guess I also would ask you to where you originally from and how that influenced you to be here today.
Absolutely. So I would say my profession right now is, if I was to be like magical and ethereal with it, it would be like a movement and music therapist and and like leader. Okay. But definitely a dancer is my main thing. I'm a choreographer and a teacher. And I got this way and got out here actually again because when I was in Chicago, 2 parents that were physicians, so I definitely had a decent upbringing in terms of education, which I'm grateful for, and I was able to proceed to Ohio State for my undergrad and get a degree in psychology because I love the way people think, and I loved trying to figure out how the hell I thought, right? Like, what is going on in this brain of mine? Yeah. Proceeded to take an opportunity to join Teach for America, which is like a Peace Corps program, but within the country. Instead of going across state lines, you're helping out here, which we know we need a ton of help too, because it's a fool up in here. And so I ended up being placed in LA of all cities and became a school teacher at like 21.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I was teaching kids like English and history
let's go.
as a kid, but as a kid myself, but definitely was super passionate about it. They knew to get leaders who either had a lot of extracurriculars or had like great GPAs and a lot of influence that they could use, even if they didn't necessarily have the master's degree yet. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. So right now, what do you use in your art to express yourself, and also how does that bleed into the community?
Right now, I probably would say I use music the most, but it's because it's the pulse of dance in the first place, which is dance is definitely one of my favorite art forms. Since I was 4 years old, I've been dancing. My mother kind of put us in classes, and I haven't stopped since. Even when I lose some of the passion, or things in life make us down, it's still become, like I said, it's catharsis. It's therapy for me, so I know it can be therapy for others. The last few years, music has become a magical tool in terms of me making it.
So I've heard across the tin can.
So yeah, like I was like, here, and I mean, you could probably attest to this. You're a choreographer. We've worked for all kinds of folks. Some are excellent, inspiring, and some were like,
Or garbage.
I appreciate the honesty because I was gonna be like, some can use some work, and I realized not that I'm perfect, but I was like, I could do this too, and I like to do this, and I would like to develop that skill set. Let me flex that muscle and learn more. So, had the opportunity, thanks to a friend who's also a former ACE, member, James Barmore, to connect with a label and really just start creating some music. And it started with like wanting to make Chicago music, which is real rowdy, fast-paced, high BPM, throwing your ass in a rhombus.
In a circle.
Circle, and if it's not in that shape, a rhombus, diamond, and otherwise.
Or a square.
Okay. any of the shapes, all of geometry. And then I actually found out, like, again, I was going through things, I had some things happen, and it became another form of therapy again, because now I'm like, let me vent about this relationship that didn't go the way I thought. Or let me vent about how we're struggling in a society and I feel unheard, so I'm gonna scream it at the top of my lungs, but through a beautiful melodic song.
Oh, I love that.
So,
absolutely. Which I've heard your single, which is called Where, and where can we find it?
Yes, so the actual whole EP project is called On the Cusp, hence the On the Cusp, astrological sign. I actually will dive into real quick why I called it that, because again, I've mentioned the biracial identity, mentioned the Gemini, Cancer cusp line, and then I also just tend to, not in a way of saying like non-binary, but I just think I carry myself in a way that most people earlier on, when traditional values of gender were said, I would never follow that. I would carry myself in what people think was very masculine just because it's abrasive or it's leaderish, and unfortunately they don't associate those qualities with women still, right? And so I felt like I had this masculine energy to myself. So I felt like I was on the cusp line of all three of those things: race, the astrological sign, gender prescripts. Yes. So I named and the title of the album that, because all the songs also straddle those lines. And you can find it on Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, Google Music, iTunes if you still buy that for $1.99.
Period.
Log in.
Okay, so I guess my next question for you is, how have you found healing in the past 3 years, and what positive changes have you seen after those 3 years for yourself and also in the world?
Yeah.
Let's say the U.S. The whole world.
Honey,
Yeah.
I was about to be
Let's just keep it centered.
I would say I've found healing through definitely networks, and support systems. You all have definitely been that. ACE has been that for me in a magnanimous way. Like outside of work, it's so crazy how much I can look to the families that I make money with to also pour into me, whether it's a text message, just checking in, and otherwise. But also, again, through the art forms. I mean, when I wasn't necessarily able to express myself, maybe by always going out to a protest or go out to discuss some of the things that were obviously very triggering in the past 3 years, aside from a whole entire pandemic, music became a way of life. Dance became a way of expression. I had a song that came out with a filmmaker, Joy Shannon, after the lockdown, and that was literally a film just dissecting how Black people were being unequivocally unmatched, impacted by this pandemic. And that music reminded me, like, I don't have to sit here and just take this, but I also don't have to go out to the front lines. Like, it may not be everybody's ministry to go out to the front and be protesting.
Or your role, because everyone has a role within anything, especially when it comes to things that are like socially happening in the world or are socially impacting in the world. So. And
I found that joy again, like through that, and it's funny that the woman's name is Joy Shannon, because I was like, I found my joy. I was like, is the universe sending me a message? Her name is Joy. So making music and trying as much as I could to stay moving was so helpful. It's so therapeutic for me. And I think it's reminded me, again, thinking about how I can make some change in this world, that again, my role doesn't always have to be at the front lines of a protest. I actually think that the best way I've motivated and stayed inspired and seen change happen is through conversations and through inspiration of my students that I work with constantly by creating art with them and letting them know, like, this is a form of protest. Black joy is a form of protest.
Yes, Black truth, Black authenticity.
Yes.
Yeah, that part. Because again, not all of us are the same.
No.
Yes, we all may share different shades and color of our skin, but just like there's different shades, there's different narratives, there's different stories, there's different cultural experiences, there's different trauma, and this is why like the picture is so much bigger than us to a certain degree, because like again, like when we were developing even this over the pandemic, which you've also been a guest on, you know, we did it over Zoom, and we did it, you know, in a very flash form, very much kind of in our homes, very much kind of in our own world. And now, you know, we could have it in person now. And I think sitting here and you being my last guest, what I realized is that like separately or whatever, different things, but coming together energetically and feeling it, like the common thread is there: authenticity, expression, living in your truth, taking up space and being like unapologetic about that. And I think that's a key thing why we've even started this, is to let people have relation through their personal experiences. Because again, like I can't be you and you can't be me, but we're both multiracial creative beings in this world. And the one thing that also ties us on together is the love for what we do. And just like how Masha has a love for the arts and you know, created this company, and then I was invited in, and how, you know, 8 years later, it's evolved into this multicultural entertainment of expression.
It's a career stop.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It has all these things that bring everyone together, and I know that's really important for Masha as an ally, like, you know what I mean? And she supported me and all of us in that realm, and so I think it's so cool to hear how even that, you know, pouring back into your cup has also helped you heal. Absolutely. And so again, I guess the second part of that question, which I asked, was how have you, or what have you seen as in positive changes within the last 3 years after that?
Yeah, that one's probably a hard one for me, because again, maybe it's the school teacher me, I'm always focused on what still needs to be improved. So I love that question, because it's such an important one. When I think of that, the first thing that comes to my mind is there was a reawakening that happened in the past 3 years when it came to racial awareness in this country. Again, race being a construct, it's such a fickle thing. But there was a reawakening, right? We saw something happen. We had the time to sit down and let the emotions come, and let the passion come, the anger, the sadness, all the feelings that we were feeling in those Zoom chats. And I mean, I know I was in tears in those chats, because I was absolutely triggered and angered, because again, this was something that my mother had been doing for 60 years, or, you know, of her life, and then we were still in the same boat, saying the same stories, having the same voice, feel like it wasn't heard. So I'm grateful that Masha is having this platform so we can have these voices and have them be heard. And I think that, again, that reawakening is probably the best thing that I've seen happen in the past 3 years. I think that there's a conversation now about race, and how, even though it's this construct and it shouldn't be happening the way it is, it's absolutely relevant. It's absolutely rooted in American history and in every faction of what we're doing. And how can we not let it limit us, but hopefully let us see all the beautiful differences between everybody and work together as like a rainbow coalition on some Black Panther, like,
You know what I mean? Come on.
like the real, yeah. So I would say that that's one of the biggest things I've seen in the past 3 years that gives me some hope. Like I saw people, the awareness, like we no longer were sitting down acting like it's perfect. I think post-Obama being elected, we thought everything was perfect.
Because could be a Black president.
You just think everything's changed, and you know, and we have great companies where people are very, you know, forward and progressive, but we see now, like, again, there's still more work to do, but there was definitely that triggering.
Yeah, no, definitely, for sure. Okay, awesome. And I guess one of my other questions I have for you is, where do you see yourself as a creative impact right now in the present, and where do you see it impacting in the future?
Right now, my impact is definitely, like I think I said earlier, like in the inspiring and in the conversations. I'm a big I talk a lot. I know you can relate, we are the talkers, and so whether I'm talking to my kids, I still teach at 2 different charter schools. I just focus on dance versus, you know, academic general ed curriculum. Yes. I'm having these conversations with these kids. I want them to use their voices, because again, they're the next wave. Not that I'm saying I'm elderly, but you know, again, as we get older,
a purpose is a purpose.
Pass that torch, because they're the ones that are gonna be that frontline movement we were talking about with that role. I want them to be able to have the space to be free. I want them to be all the various versions of a Black identity that they are, because now there's such a space for queer, oh my goodness, such a space for queer identities, and all of the pronouns being used, and all of the variations of what they want to wear and be, and I love that, and we're having those spaces being taken up. And I want to continue to have that leadership role that I have while I have it, because that's my present role. And then I hope that that leads to, in the future, things continuing to be inspiring, because again, that's why I'm putting it into the music as well, because then it's legacy.
Yes.
That's left and that's permanent. You can go and stream that for the rest of your life, even if it's not a #1 hit. That message is there, so somebody can hear it and be inspired.
Yes, and that is what we call a seed.
Plant the
Seed, baby.
and then water it, hopefully, please.
Yes, and unless technology crazy and kills us like the Matrix, you know what I mean? Hope not.
I'm so stressed. It's the AI. No. Oh my God.
Okay, so my final question is just to obviously to kind of leave a message out there for the people that are watching at home, whoever that may be. What advice or what would you say, to other creatives, Black and brown out there, since you're at a really, you're at an elevated place, you've done a lot of the work and you're still elevating in your art. But since you are at that kind of crossroad for yourself, where another elevation's happening, what words of inspiration would you say out to the world, to those people?
My words of inspiration for those people would be to never stop asking questions and to never stop expressing how you feel authentically, because I think that's what's going to lead to actual growth. Stop feeling like we have to shrink ourselves to fit into spaces. It is okay to offend by being honest. Not by offending people, but I'm just saying you have to speak your truth. And this is beyond the racial component. This is beyond art creation. We have to be able to speak our truth, and then we also have to ask and learn to listen. Because again, we're talking about planting seeds. We're talking about this growth happening, but how much are people effectively listening to what's being said, and how much are they watering into those, and pouring into those seeds? I think that's what I would say. Never stop asking those questions, and never stop effectively listening to the answers as well.
Amazing. Oh, that's beautifully well said. Awesome. And I guess I'll piggyback off of that because I think hosting also too, I'm here to ask questions, but any inspiration that I would say for people at home is self-love. Love every part of yourself. Love everything that you come from, everything that you are not. Love yourself, because I think a big part of that, planting those seeds, is knowing that love and the thing that you hold for into life, that is so much bigger than us. And that love and that self-love for who you are, no matter what shade or race or sex you are in general, that love of self bleeds into so many other areas. Yeah. So that's another thing I would leave for people, and to tell people to always find that self-love and also love others, you know what I mean? Because that self-love will hold you strong, but that love for others and other humans, no matter if they don't like you or not, that's going to be a part of change. Absolutely. Too as well. I'm just so grateful to have you here. I'm just in general, I just love you so much. I just really appreciate you. Yes, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. No, of course. You're the best.
I love you, babe.
I love you too. Well, guys, that is our last guest for Elevating Black Voices. Please stay out, to date for the next one for next year, but we're also going to start doing some expansion of this that is going to delve into other communities of art and expression. But we love y'all. Be safe, be well, love one another, and we shall see you again next time. Yes. Bye, y'all.